All right, and looks like we're live. Sure. Hi everyone. Welcome to another episode of Films and Fandoms. I'm once again,
Finally.
yes, I'm once again joined by Alex, and today we are back talking leverage, season 2, episode 12,
Wow.
the Zanzibar Marketplace Job.
We are
So,
flying
this
this season.
makes uh on a future 3 strikes, but 3 episodes till we are done
Aw.
with season 2. Don't worry, we got season 3.
I
We
know,
got
but
season
still.
3. We got season 3 next.
I know, but still, it's kind of sad.
It is, and it actually marks another milestone for this podcast because we have officially be done with another season of a TV show,
True.
and we get to our favorite season of Leverage, which is season 3. Which it's going to be like a very good season to talk about. That's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about season 2, episode 12, the Zanzibar Marketplace Job. So, before getting to this episode, I want to thank our sponsor, Perry Pines. You can listen to Perry Pines in Bigfoot Country, 102.1 WIFT at lovemybigfoot.com or the Love My Bigfoot app from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on the weekdays, and our parent company, nafco.org. And if you want to, sorry, I'm still having coughing issues. If you want to support the podcast, you can buy us a coffee on Ko-fi, which is Films and Fandoms. And if you look in the chat, you will see the link to the Ko-fi page. Ugh. Oh, shoot. There we are. All right, so let's get straight to it. So, yep, we're going to be talking the Zanzibar Marketplace. A little bit of a summary before we start. What is that? My coughing issues. All right, so the team is forced to work with Sterling when Nate's ex-wife Maggie is accused for a theft she didn't commit. So now the team has to work with Sterling to save Maggie from ending up in a Ukrainian jail. The director for this episode is Jeremiah S. Chechik. The writers for this episode are Chris Donnie, Melissa Glenn, and Jessica Grassi, aka Jessica Reeder. So when she was writing this, she got married and changed her name to Grassi, so that's why it's credited as Jessica Grassi. But Jessica Reeder, who as I've mentioned before, and I'll mention it again, Glenn Reeder is the name of one of the security safe companies in this show.
I
So,
love that. I love that they are so, like, smart and everything to come up with that. It's like, oh, we can do this. We can combine these two names to make a fake company, or, oh, this is can be a fake character for this.
yeah. So, we open this episode kind of fast because we just see the Museum of Art in Kiev. And Maggie's just on the phone. She's talking. She's staying late at the museum. And then she gets tased and is woken up as she's getting arrested. And then we get to the intro, which I think this is the fastest, like, opening scene. Because
There are other episodes later on that have a pretty quick opening scene, but yeah, this is one of the fastest ones that we've had so far. And I had to laugh when I watched this episode. I'm like, of course they take her out with the taser.
Yeah. Yeah, so we go to the bar where Parker and Hardison are, they're sitting at the bar, and Hardison's trying to get Parker to go on a vacation to Tokyo. Of course, Parker should set your drink down. It's like, what are we stealing? Hers like, no, we could go on as tourists.
We wouldn't be stealing anything.
And she's like, I'm not following. So yeah, and and at the table, Elliot, Nate, and Tara are sitting around. They're doing research on a new client, and of course, waitress brings over another round of drinks for them, and Elliot is like, "Thank you, sweetheart," with that like flirty tone. No, it's what Elliot. Nate like looks at Elliot and then kicks him under the table, and Elliot just looks at him like, "What? I can't have a friend." It's like, join a softball team. So, yeah, I just find that funny. Like, Elliot's trying to get his flirt on, and then Nate's got to be all butthurt about it. That Elliot's probably getting action, and he ain't. Anyways, that was kind of mean. I'm sorry. Anyways, Nate. So as Nate does this rundown, Tara's like, "So this is all your little lost sheep," and Nate just like, "Excuse me," with that tone of voice. And Tara's like, "You can't save them all." So Nate excuses himself to get a cup of coffee, which we all know he's putting Jameson in that. We all know he's putting Jameson in the coffee. Which, to be fair, I'd be putting Bailey's if I had any, which I don't. But anyway, hold on. I'm going to grab a cough drop to see if I can help with my coughing, because that's going to get annoying real quick. And now that I'm thinking about it, I probably should have made some actual tea. It's probably going to taste good with tea, or my twisted tea, but whatever. Anyway, so because Nate leaves, Tara looks at Elliot and is pointing out, like, like, hey, Nate's drinking again. And Elliot's like, I'm not stupid, Tara. Tara's like, I was told this was a problem. And I was like, drinking's not the problem, it's the symptom. And then Nate sits down and he's like trying to talk, and then in walks Sterling. What's funny is Nate freezes, looks at Elliot, and it's like, Elliot, I'm gonna ask you not to do anything violent. And it's like, what? Like, I only use violence as an appropriate response. And then you just hear, "Hello, Nate."
And the look on Elliot's face is like, shit.
And then, wait, hold on, need some room. Hold on, I need some room. I don't know if I could do this. Wait, sister, what's up? And then, that actually kind of wasn't half bad. But he, like, stands up, and then
the fact that I've never laughed so hard at how quick he got up. I'm like, the boy can move. Damn. Seriously,
Yeah.
that boy can move.
And what's funny is, as soon as Elliot makes contact with Sterling, you see, like, it's a freeze frame. You see a tooth go flying, which means canonically Sterling lost a tooth. And then the camera shifts to Hardison and Parker at the bar. The bartender goes to, like, reach for, like, the phone. Hardison hands him some cash.
Like,
and the bartender's like, okay, minding my business.
I like how Hardison immediately pays off. And the bartender's like, you saw nothing.
And honestly, Hardison and Parker look like they are enjoying that way too much.
Of course, it's Sterling. They hate Sterling, and so
I ain't talking about that. I ain't talking about that.
I mean, Elliot's got some moves, but damn.
No, I'm talking to that Parker looked like she wanted to eat Elliot.
She went a little feral. Like I could see
You
it. I could see it
did.
in her eyes.
Oh,
And
what's
I can't blame her. I can't blame her.
and if you listen to Taylor Swift's new song, Actually Romantic, there's a part let me double check the lyric before I make a fool of myself.
I know
As if
exactly
I
what
haven't
you're
already
talking about. I hate you.
as if I haven't already made a fool of myself. You think am my business, God's my witness, that I provoke it. It's kind of making me because it's actually sweet. Yeah. So that was my first thought was Parker looked like she wanted to eat him because of that. But so they start
I mean, it was. My reaction when I first watched that, I was like, it's kind of hot.
because I'm sorry, what is an explanation for the way Parker was looking, way Parker and Harrison were looking at Elliot beating the shit out of Sterling.
I think
Like,
it was more of like a feral, like finally Sterling gets what the fuck he deserves.
it is a little fro, which to be fair,
That
Elliot,
and
Elliot
that and she
Spencer
likes
was
violence.
too.
Parker like I know it's not canon, but for me, Parker
You can read my
likes
fan
violence.
fiction.
She likes violence a little too much. I mean, that's what
She
she wants to
does.
stab. She wants to stab people. She wants to
Tase
use
him.
a taser, and she can kick ass later on in the later episode. So but yeah, I think it was like a okay. You need to teach me that. You need to teach me that now.
She, but
It was almost like an excited puppy, pretty much, and it was cute. I couldn't help it. So
it
cute.
is fun. So a funny behind the scenes thing about that particular moment. They said this in the audio commentary. And when I met Mark Shepard a few years ago at Memento Con, I brought up the scene to him. Just like, I love that. Like, I'm serious. This is totally a true story. I went up to him to like get my picture signed, and I said, like I really love uh, you as Sterling, especially this scene where like Elliot, like when Elliot's kind of like beating the crap out of you, and he said that scene was because his son, I think his older son's name's Max.
Yep.
He said he wanted to see Christian Kane beat the shit out of his dad.
Yep. That just sounds like something Max would want to say. And I bet you his wife was laughing watching that episode. It's like, oh, you got your butt kicked.
Because I think, yeah, I don't know. But I do
But
know
I
now
mean,
he's
it
married
was
to,
kind of cool.
actually, ironically, someone who is a fan of Supernatural, and they met because of the convention.
That's awesome. I loved it.
I think his wife's name's Sarah.
Yep. Yep. Sarah. I love her. She's so sweet.
Yeah. And honestly, he had like a massive heart attack. Like it was a bit ago now, but he had like
And he
it
almost
was like
had,
a massive heart attack. And he
yeah.
like talks about it now. And I'm
Yep.
assuming he's all well and fine now.
Yeah, because they had to go in and put a stent in or something. But yeah.
Yeah, like I'm
He
talking
almost,
like
he almost didn't make
moments,
it.
like I'm talking like moments he would have been dead. I
Yep.
think I heard him tell the story. I think it was actually because of his wife
Yep. Because she knew
pointing
something was wrong. Yeah, she knew something was wrong, so she
out.
called the ambulance and everything. They got him to the hospital and everything. And this was on another podcast that he talked about this.
I think with was it the one with Michael Rosenberg?
Yep. And he goes, yeah, I had like almost a 98% blockage in my heart. It almost
like another couple moments and he would have been dead. Like
yeah.
that's how
He's like, yeah, had I waited like another hour, I would have been
knock
dead.
on wood.
I'm like, thank God you didn't.
Yeah, I think fuck you didn't.
And I'm like, because your kids wouldn't have their daddy, and that would suck.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that man very much. He's such a sweetheart.
He's so iconic, yeah. And he's so iconic as like an actor and as a person too. Cause only Mark Shepard
but yeah,
brings such
it was
lovable
funny. He can play mean and evil characters so well, but he's such a
they're
sweetheart
charming.
in real life.
And that's what pisses you off about them.
I know.
And to be fair, Mark Shepard would probably agree with my assessment.
Yeah, Sterling's a dick. I hate Sterling, but I love Mark.
He's charming.
I know.
That's what is infuriating about it.
It pisses me off. So you know he's doing something right.
Yeah. So moving on. So Elliot's beating the crap out of Sterling. Sterling's just hitting Elliot with like a baton. It's actually called a kubar. So
nope.
I think no, it's a baton. It's a baton.
It's a collapsible baton, which is
a collapsible baton. Thank you.
Yep.
And what's funny is Nate and Tara are just watching, and Tara's like, and Nate is like, this is Sterling. We used to work together at IYS Insurance. And Tara's like, he seems to have rubbed Elliot the wrong way. And Nate just looks at him like,
well, no shit. Literally, no shit, Tara.
Like, no shit. He's beating the fuck out of him in the middle of the damn bar. Which, by the way, this isn't like, it's just Nate, Tara, Hardison, and Parker, and like maybe a couple of staff. This is like middle of the day.
Yeah.
Like you got a few patrons in there. You know, people
maybe
sitting
like on their lunch break or something.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. So, anyways, Elliot's got Sterling pinned by his throat to the table. And Nate walks over. He's like, what do you want, Sterling? And Sterling's like, I'm here to offer you a job. And it's like, there's nothing you could say that would make us want work for you. And yet Sterling says the one thing that would get the team to work for him, which is it's Maggie.
Yep. And you can see the shift in Nate's eyes when he says that. He's like, my ex?
Well, no.
The mother. Yeah, it's like you can see the gears turning in his head. He's like, it's like the mother of my child.
And also my wife. It's technically like, ex-wife, but he still calls her his wife.
Yeah.
So Nate's like, take him upstairs. Which you have to imagine. So as I mentioned, the bar's full. I wonder, I'm pretty sure someone would have wrote a fan fiction about this. If not, someone should. But imagine just looking at like a fanfic from the perspective of just a normal bar patron. Like say you just got home from your job. You're just trying to have a drink before you get home. And then there's fucking Nate looking like a fucking mafia boss. Or you're just on your lunch break trying to enjoy some good food. And there's Elliot just beating the fuck out of somebody. And then someone who clearly, and then someone standing beside him looking all menacing. But then hearing the words, take him upstairs. Like, it makes you wonder if, like, Bostonians wonder if Nate's a mafia boss. Like, no, he's just a drunk thief. Sorry, I was suppressing a cough there. No, Nate's just a drunk thief. Anyways, so back in Nate's apartment, Sterling gives the rundown explaining that this Fabergé egg was stolen when Maggie was in the museum identifying Russian artifacts. And because Tara's like, who's, because Tara obviously doesn't know the history. Elliot tells Tara that, Maggie's Nate's ex wife. And of course, Tara's first thought is like, okay, do we know that she took it? And Parker says, no, Maggie's the most honest person we know. Other than that, she's okay. Like, like Parker can't deal with normal people or honest people except Maggie. Like Maggie's the only normal person she likes. Which is funny, their interaction.
That reminds me of a later thing. I have to mention this because this is funny.
Okay, go ahead.
She like pets her hair like she's a puppy.
That was in the season 2 or season 1 finale.
Yeah.
When they have to bring in Maggie on the job.
Yep. And Parker leans over and just pets her hair.
Adorable.
I love Maggie that. And the look on her face. The look on Maggie's face is like, what the fuck's wrong with you? Like, what's wrong with you, child?
Like, who the fuck are you hanging around with?
Like, what is she on and where can I get some?
It's called autism.
I know. Literally.
Yeah, so Nate walks over and he's immediately clocking that this is a setup. Shocker, shocker. And then Sterling, being the little bastard he is like, so you live and work here. I like the old place better.
Oh, I wanted to slap him.
To which ours is like, hey, you do not bring up the old place. Because as we remember, it's Sterling's the reason they had to blow up LA. Yeah.
Sterling, it's your fault.
Yep. So Nate gets him back on track, asking where Maggie is, and Sterling says that Maggie is awaiting trial in a Kiev jail. And of course is like, when I heard that dear Maggie had been held without bail, I rushed. And Nate's like, no. Like, as soon as you heard the Fabergé egg that your company insures was stolen, you rushed over.
He's like, no. That's not the truth, and you know it.
Yeah, so, and Sterling also has, but it's also like the way he words it. And because then Nate's like, or then Sterling's like, I unfortunately wasn't able to clear her name.
Of course.
So my question is, do we think Sterling actually cared about Maggie, or sorry, do we think Sterling actually cared that Maggie was arrested, or do we think he just used the fact that it was Maggie who is accused of the theft in order to get Nate to help in getting the egg back?
I think he cares about her. I think Sterling cares about Maggie.
Yeah. I'm not. I think he does too. Because it seemed like they were all close, like Nate, Maggie, Sterling. So I could see like Sterling actually like hearing that Maggie got arrested and was like, "Oh shit."
Mm-hmm.
But then the more he started thinking about the logistics of it, he's like, no, I'm an IOIS insurance investigator. I can't. I have only have a certain amount of rules I can follow,
Yeah.
and I
Or
need
like
someone.
to be able to get her out. He's like, I need somebody else who can kind of go outside of this to
Yeah,
figure
like I
out
need
a
someone
way
else.
to get her back.
And since it is Maggie, I know Nate is going to drop everything
Yep.
to help her. So I'm thinking it's almost like it could be like a two-for situation where like Sterling does care about Maggie and he doesn't obviously want to see her rot in a Kiev jail, but he also knows that Maggie, the fact that it is Maggie, is like the perfect storm in a way, because Sterling can get his egg back and get Maggie out of jail too.
Yep.
So it's just, I think it could be both convenience and he actually cares for Maggie. And of course, Sterling does have another suspect in this heist, and that is Alexander Lundy, who's this like international real estate mogul who works at the embassy to help like develop uh, third world countries. But Sterling, as I mentioned, he can't touch him because an American embassy is technically U.S. soil, which means international law enforcement can uh, arrest anyone inside. So really, they have no way of getting Lundy while he's still in the embassy. It's part of that whole diplomatic immunity thing.
Yep.
But Harrison's got them a flight to Kiev, which leaves in 3 hours, and it probably wasn't a direct flight. Sorry about that. So, because I tried actually looking and see like where the flight would have taken them, but probably unsurprisingly, it would not show me on Expedia.
Of course.
And I'm sure if you've seen the news, you probably know why. But anyways, regardless of that, Hardison got them all flights to Kiev, and they're leaving in 3 hours. And of course, Elliot's bitching like, I'm not working alongside him," and it's like, no, you don't have to. I will. And Elliot's like, besides, I got another job for you, anyways. You're the retrieval specialist. Go retrieve my wife from jail. And I find it's still interesting to me that Nate still calls Maggie his wife, even though they've been divorced, presumably for a few years now. Because, like, I imagine, like, early, because I imagine it was early 2000s that Sam passed away. Or at least I think it was early 2000s that Sam passed away. And it would make sense that would take a couple years for like that decline before ultimately Nate and Maggie divorced. And I imagine there was at least like a couple years between them by the time they got divorced and the pilot episode. So I imagine it's been a few years since they've been divorced. But it's so fun and interesting that like Nate still calls Maggie his wife even though they're like divorced. And so yeah, so they're in Kiev now. Ellie and Hardison get to the police station. Tara's waiting outside, reporting to Nate and Sterling while they meet with Lundy. Or reporting to Nate while Nate and Sterling are meeting with Lundy. Who Nate accuses of being guilty. So Nate and Sterling trying to interrogate Lundy, but his assistant, Sam Phillips, brings out the insurance paperwork and schedule to like prove that it couldn't be Lundy. Which of course none of them are buying it. And Elliot and Hardison kind of hit a roadblock with the whole getting Maggie out of prison thing because the inspector tells them no, as he figures she is going to run straight to the embassy and he'll be made a fool. So then Tara's got to go on the comms and be like, look, like, this guy's a former Soviet Union, like, bureaucrat. You can't, like, they're used to trading favors. So then Elliot's got to play I didn't want to play this card route. And he gives the inspector a phone number to call. The inspector calls it. Tara answers the phone. And then Tara says, do you know who this woman's lover is? Which, I mean, it works because it gets Maggie out. But then, of course, Maggie immediately clocks out like the inspector's not letting her out because he thinks she is innocent. And then he's like, give my regards to the like minister. And Maggie's like, what minister? And of course, the guard thinking it's like some like secret thing. He's like, oh yeah, what minister? And then Maggie immediately again clocks that something's up and asks if he could describe who got her out of jail. But he described Elliot and Hardison, so Maggie immediately knows that like Nate's there pulling his shit. Because back at the IYS office, Nate and Sterling are going over Lindy's financials. And it turns out he isn't some rich mogul that everyone thinks he is. He is actually like 4 months away from declaring bankruptcy. And the credit crunch cleared him out. And so Sterling catches on to what Nate's getting at, which is Lundy donates the egg to the museum, so it follows under the museum's insurance policy. He hires some liquid muscle to steal the egg. He makes out with the insurance payment. And also the fence, as we'll find out here in a minute. And he's going to steal the egg and then fence it. Probably get the money from the insurance payout and also from selling the egg, which would get him out of jail. And then Parker's just sitting on casual, so he speaks up and it's like, it was an inside job. And of course, Sterling's like, was she always? Sorry. Anyways, but then Parker explains like why she thinks it's an inside job, and it's because like this took like this amount of time that she says it's like it would normally take this amount of time to have to keep Hag unless you're Hardison. And she says normally this heist would take around 7 minutes. They did it in 5. The only way to do that would be to have Maggie's codes and badge. So Nate sees on Lundy's schedule that he had lunch with Maggie. And so he assumes that's when the guard or when the muscle took her badge. But then in walks Maggie. So of course Nate's like, okay, this is not what it looks like. And meanwhile, Parker's going, okay, so since this is your first time being a fugitive, I made you a go. And she starts explaining all this stuff, and Maggie's like, thank you, Parker. Like, I appreciate you. Like, not that I don't appreciate getting out of jail, but I'm not going to be a fugitive. And of course, Nate's like, still trying to explain, like, no, you're not a fugitive. And like, the team, they're not even staying. Like, they're just here to deal with the authorities and to get you released. You know, that's it. And then Sterling even lies, saying, they're like, you know, he's been rehabilitated. He brought him on as an official IYS consultant. And Parker takes Maggie over to her hotel. Nate suggested, be like, you know, why don't you go to the hotel, get cleaned up, and then I'll call you if we find anything. And then once they leave, Sterling gives Nate a drink, which is funny that it's not like their glass. So, because if you remember, there was this whole thing where they're like, the drink symbolizes that like you had the power, which it makes sense in this case. Sterling would be the one giving Nate the drink because Sterling has the power in this kind of moment. But also, it's not their normal glass, signifying that like this isn't their usual meetup either. If you want to think about it like that. So, Hardison, or what's sorry, what Sterling says to Nate when he's getting the drink is, crime suits you. You're starting to become a better liar. And then Nate takes a drink and is like, yeah, let's just get this done quick before she figures that out. So what's funny is Parker and Hardison, then they, you know, they got to go to Lundy's office to investigate. So they go in under the guise of getting a visa so Parker can go back to the States. Like they're getting married and like she needs a visa so they can get back to the States. And of course, Hardison has like a button cam, so he's taking pictures of everything on the desk. And then how they get out is Hardison's like, oh no, like we do, like we're at the wrong office. I'm like, sorry. So they leave. Hardison goes through all these documents he took pictures of. They have a travel visa to the United Arab Emirates, which I did work in international travel, and yes, you do need a visa to go to the United Arab Emirates. And that was actually something I would have to check when I would be checking passengers in, is checking to make sure they had that visa.
Either a visa or a passport or something.
Yeah. There's if there's a actually, if you when you book a flight, if you type in your passport information, they especially international flights, if you put in your passport information, they will actually tell you what documents you will need, like visas. If you're traveling there for like a certain amount of days, because these are like all factors you need to consider when it comes to visas. What country you're flying from, what country you're flying out of, or no, what country you're flying out of, what country you're flying to, what countries you're transiting through, what passport you have, Sometimes if you have multiple citizenships, that's sometimes a consideration. And if you're traveling for work or tourist, because to travel for work, you'll oftentimes need a special visa as you're going there as an employee, not a tourist, which means you're making money. So that's a different like tax thing too. But those are things to consider when traveling international. Uh, but there are some exemptions. So, like me, I have a U.S. passport. So when I traveled to the UK for one more shot, the charity concert, I flew from here to Chicago, and then from Chicago to Frankfurt, Germany. And because I was going straight from Germany to the UK, I didn't need a visa to transit. However, some countries, you do need a visa even if you're transiting through that country. Germany is one of those special exemptions. They call it I think they call it like a uh, Schengen country, which if you travel to any like the neighboring ones and you have a U.S. passport, you generally, and you're not planning on, and you don't leave the airport, you don't need a visa to transit. Now, however, now in the UK, because there was a recent law passed where uh, because there was a recent change, you do now need a visa to go to the UK. I did discover that recently. Now you do need a visa to travel to the UK if you're an American citizen and have a US passport. But yeah, there's also websites you can check, and if you're curious about that too. And also, generally, unless you're like one of those special people that have multiple citizenships, which I have actually seen that uh, had that happen, where you can travel on like one passport, and then but you need like not like special permissions, but sometimes if you have multiple citizenships, it can be like a factor in what visas you need too. So the more you know about international travel. But anyways, back to this episode. So Hardison also discovers that Lundy has several bank accounts in non-extradition countries, uh, and also he found communications on Lundy's phone from a fence. So Elliot and Tara got to go meet the fence, and this Elliot and Tara are sitting on a park bench, and the fence is sitting like a couple benches down, eating a sandwich. And Tara's like, "Oh, like I'll go talk to him." And Elliot's like, "About what? Like we have no cover story. We have no like background on this cat." And Tara's like, "All right, fine, then I won't say a word." And she's just like, "Just when he looks at you, do the thing with the eyes that scares people." And of course, Elliot gets all grumpy about it. And then, but Tara, she plops down, takes the dude's sandwich, starts eating it, and he starts freaking out. Like,
I love the fact that she goes, do the thing with your eyes that scares people. And he goes, what?
but then, like a couple minutes later, when he turns to Elliot, he does this thing.
The eyes.
He does the thing. And then when
I love now that that's an iconic like meme.
it is.
And
So
I've used this between us.
yeah, so this is
Elliot
kind of
thing.
our like inside joke where if one of us is up, the other one will typically send a message along the lines of, "Do I need to do the thing?"
Or do you want me to do the thing? Usually
Or
it's to me. And I go either you wouldn't, or I go, maybe. Most of the time.
which then one of us proceeds to send a gif of Elliot doing
Or
the
the
thing.
picture of like the Elliot eyes, and it's
To which we then squeal and then yell at the other one for
yep,
doing the thing we knew what would happen when we acted up.
yep.
Friendship, people. And so eventually this fence just gets so freaked out he gives Tara an envelope. And then Tara walks over, kind of like smug, hands it to Ellie, and is like, "What we imagine in our heads is so much better than reality." To Elliot responds like love. And I want to break that down for a minute because so we know Elliot's kind of been unlucky when it comes to romance. And it makes me wonder why exactly he said that. Because I mean, we know Elliot has been unlucky in love when it comes to relationships. So what I'm thinking is like he in his head, the relationships were fine until they aren't, and they end up leaving him. Because we see that kind of happen. Now, the main relationship I'm thinking about here is his relationship with Amy, his high school sweetheart. Because if you remember from the two horse job and also the wedding job, Ellie and Amy, they were like high school sweethearts. But then they lost contact when Elliot went into the army. And then he went back. She was getting married to someone else. So Elliot backed away because that's what he thought she wanted him to do. And that was like the right thing to do because he may be a womanizer, but he's no homewrecker. At least I hope he isn't. I'd hope Elliot's smarter than that. Anyways, actually, you know what? I forgot about the story him and Paul told. And do you remember the Walk in the Woods that like flashback? So I retract everything I just said.
Uh, oh,
He's like,
that
"Isn't his
episode
daughter
was
she wanted to like
awesome. But
run
yeah,
away with you?" That wasn't his daughter. No, man, she was like about to run away with you. That was his wife. Oh, like, okay. So I
oh,
stand corrected on everything I just said. Elliot, you're a fucking hot dog. But yeah. Anyways, so with Amy though, she was the one that kind of left Elliot, and see, I think, but he's always been kind of left. I feel like he's always been kind of blindsided with his relationships. And we see this later, we kind of, I wouldn't say Mikkel is a relationship. That was probably a fling that was probably just like a one-time fling to get it out of the system, and then that was that. And also, Kaylin in the studio job, that wasn't Elliot. I think was blindsided more by the fact that she kind of asked him to stay, to take Music City with him. But he declined, saying, he's down too far. He's too far down this road. And I think the one that hurt him the most was Maria. And I say that because I think he genuinely did want to make things work with Maria. And then he was left blindsided by her rejecting him. And I think that's the part. That's kind of the part I think Ella might be talking about. Like, love is the thing that seems better in the head than it does in person. And I've personally experienced this. I've had 3 major relationships in my life. My middle school ex-boyfriend, which I found he was dating another chick as he was dating me. So I dumped him, but I was kind of left blindsided about that. I was in another relationship that ended messy. And things were said that shouldn't have been said, and then neither of us could really take them back. So that's why that ended. But then my third relationship was what really blindsided me, because I was like, where the fuck did this come from? Because I had tried to make amends, because I genuinely did kind of fuck up. I tried to make amends. Apparently it wasn't the right amends. And then she said some things that weren't very nice. And then we broke up. Alex knows the full story about what happened, because she was the one that had to deal with my depressed ass after the fact.
Yep, and you had to restrain me from almost wanting to start a fight over the last two.
Oh yeah, that some a little bit like Elliot in that I've also been a bit unlucky in love.
Wait a minute, that makes sense, because Christian wrote a song kind of about that a little bit, and that's what was going in my head.
What song? I'm trying to think of what song, because How I'm Living Now is actually I actually really like that song, How I'm Living Now, but I'm trying to think, what's the song about? No, How I'm Living Now has a lyric. Go on in and get lucky in love. That's how I'm living now. I know that one. It's not More Than I Deserve. I don't think it's Wash. Are you sending me the song, or? Because I don't know. I don't know why I know it.
I think it's this one, but I'm not entirely for sure.
Because if you tell me the title, I'll probably know it. Because I every day I'm listening. Oh, yeah, okay,
Nope.
different kind of night. No, that is correct. No,
I mean, am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. Different Kind of Night is literally about him leaving because like
Yeah.
he knows how this is gonna end because this is how it ended before.
Yep.
It is a beautiful song though, and it is also very fitting, I think, for Elliot's character.
Yep.
Especially when it comes to his romantic relationships, and that can be like why. This thing, to kind of quote the song a bit, I think we've mentioned this before about that particular song, how Elliot's not the type of guy who like spends the night. He's the type that like shows up on his Harley and then breaks your heart and then leaves the next day.
Yeah. And I've experienced kind of like what he's talking about, like if I'm watching the video of for kind of night because I like the acoustic version better. I've experienced that several times of trying to put myself out there and then being blatantly told no because I'm too young or I'm not what they're looking for, and I've been pushed away until recently. And this is one of the healthiest relationships I've ever been in, and it scares the shit out of me.
Well,
In a good way.
no, yeah.
Literally, it scared the shit out of me. Because I had been liking this person since I was in high school, and we kind of lost contact, and then all of a sudden, there you are again, and we kind of reconnected. And he goes, "You disappeared on me."
Oh no.
Then, because I had brain surgery in my freshman year, and I disappeared for the rest of the school year.
Yeah.
And he,
I knew you had surgery. I just forgot it was your freshman year.
Yeah, and he I had lost contact because I didn't have like his email or anything like that to talk to him until the next year when he friended me on Facebook. And then fast forward several years later, I end up going to his church where his dad's the pastor. And yeah, things kind of picked up from there. And then my mom was like, do you like him as more than a friend? And I go, I think so. She's like, then what are you waiting for? She kind of pushed me to go for the relationship.
How did I not know that you were dating a preacher boy?
He's the son of a preacher boy. Yeah, he's the son of a preacher. Nico's dad's a preacher.
I did not know that.
Yep. Ah, shit. The son of a preacher man just popped into my head. Sorry.
Let's move on. So after that whole thing, Elliot and Harrison go back to the office because in the envelope is a blank piece of paper. So Elliot's like, what the fuck is this? So they get on video call with Sophie. And Sophie says, it's a Zanzibar Marketplace. But she explains is a one-time event that usually pops up after an important item has been stolen. And she actually makes a reference to this. She makes a comment like, you should have seen Stockholm after the Rembrandt heist. Parking was a nightmare. Which, that is an actual heist that happened. I did Google it. And yes, the Museum of Art, or the National Museum in Stockholm, Sweden, was broken into in 2000, and a Rembrandt was stolen. They did catch who did it.
That's awesome.
And the paintings have since been returned. But
and then we have to bring up the most current heist that was in the news lately.
The heist, which they did get arrests. I did see.
Yeah, they arrested They arrested 3 of the 4 people involved.
Yeah, but neither of them are talking.
Yeah. But I love the fact that when that happened, like before they got the arrest, the man that played Caffrey, he said it wasn't me.
Oh no, it was funny. He posted a picture of himself from the season 6 finale of White Collar.
Yep, and he's looking over his shoulder.
Like,
cute.
I can't confirm or deny
My
involvement with like a winky face emoji.
I never laughed so hard in my entire life.
I don't know if you saw this part, but in the comments was Tim DK, who plays Peter Burke, the FBI agent in White Collar, with the caption was, "Yeah, right, Caffrey." Go Caffrey. And then what was funny is Matt Bob underneath put I read that in Peter's voice. What?
I'm looking at oh, and then the lady that played
It was, I like say for the record,
Peter's wife, the one that played Peter's wife.
But are we really that Yeah, Tim DK is like,
oh man, and then
that Caffrey.
And then there's somebody like below that, Ross McCall. He goes, but I might.
He played.
Yeah. Oh man.
He was like an arch. I guess you could say arch nemesis.
Yeah. Oh man, that was funny.
Alexander. So, but yeah, it was fucking funny. And then also Gina Bowman put a thing saying, "I absolutely was not in Paris."
I know. I saw that.
And then the same thing with Beth. She posted in pictures like Parker responds, no comment. And then even the Electric Now social media has posted a thing of Parker stealing a crown. But then was like, yeah, like he could confirm the leverage team had nothing to do with the events in Paris this weekend. They're more professional than that. Which to me sounds like they were just calling the heist unprofessional, which Dean Devlin, I want to know who's your social media intern. Because I want to buy him a drink for that.
Oh man.
Social media intern. That's like what? I want to know who does that. Give me the contact info so I could meet him up for a drink. That would be amazing. Oh, yeah. So let's carry on.
Oh, God. But yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, it is funny. So Sophie continues explaining what the Zanzibar Marketplace is, and that people get invited by the black market contacts. They the blank piece of paper is really invisible ink. There's a bidder ID, time, and then the bid is on the back of the card. It's like a series of numbers, no zeros. And they meet up, inspect the item, put in their bids, and then they get contacted a week later once the heat's died down. And then they get the item via courier. And of course, then the next question is, well, where is this auction going to be held? And then Nate comes in and says at the embassy. And then what's funny is Sophie does like one of these motions to like turn it off. So Hardest because Hardest has this like small computer which he shuts. And Nate reveals that there's going to be a party at the embassy later that night. And that's where it's going to be. However, they also realize that they can't stick law enforcement on Keller, and they can't they can't stick the dog's law enforcement on him. So Nate says they're going to steal the damn thing back. So they go to this party. Sterling managed to get invites for everyone except Hardison, and it totally isn't payback for Hardison nearly blowing his ass up in the first day of a job. We all know that. So Hardison's stuck in the van. And so the plan is for Tara to go in undercover as the bidder. Elliot and Hardison, or Elliot and Parker, sorry, are going to steal the egg. Sterling's going to use the egg to clear Maggie's name. And that's the priority, is clearing Maggie's name. And then Sterling sets Nate up because it's like, oh, there's something I forgot. It's on the tip of my tongue. And then Nate turns to see Maggie kissing Lundy. Which the detail that Sterling, if you didn't know, if you didn't catch on, this detail that Sterling forgot to mention was that Maggie was dating Lundy. So I gotta say, they kind of did Maggie dirty with this outfit. I ain't gonna lie. Like, dating haters, I absolutely love you. You do amazing costuming work. I do not know what happened this episode though, because Maggie's dress kind of looks more like a nightgown than like something that would be like a high end party. So I'm just confused. That's like my one qualm with this episode. Actually, is it's because it's like a baby blue dress that Maggie's wearing, and the dress itself is cute, but when you put it in the context that this is supposed to be like a very important, party at an embassy, you would think that there would be something more like party. This guy looks like a nightgown. I don't know why. I'm sure there's probably some reasoning that I'm not understanding. But it was funny. It was like Nate and Maggie kind of stare each other down, and then Maggie's just shaking her head like, Nate, do not start your shit. And of course, then that causes a problem because now Maggie's seen Tara with Nate, so she can't go in or Alexander, sorry. So Lindy has seen Tara with Nate, which means she can't go in as the bidder, so Elliot's got to go in. Which means Tara's got to get the invite to Elliot. So Tara tells Parker's like, all right, Parker, double reverse solve 3. She grabs a drink from a tray, takes it, puts it on a tray with the envelope. The waitress goes. Parker takes the envelope from the tray, passes it to Elliot, who twirls it, which kind of seems counterintuitive. And also the Elliot twirling things. We see that still goes on because I don't think there's a single prop that man has not twirled. And apparently he passed it on to Callum McGowan, because if you've seen The Librarians, the next chapter, you will know that Callum also twirls stuff.
I know.
So what the fuck, Christian Kane? Anyways.
And also, Noah Weil had passed on the licking of items.
Yes.
What the fuck? Sorry, I just had to bring that up.
I still will not get. I still will never get over being called love by Colin McGowan at the lip screening of the Librarian's Next Chapter because that was like the coolest night of my life.
Not
And
as
then me
cool as
going up to
that.
Colin,
Not as
like,
cool as the fact that he was like, "You should be here. Why aren't you here?" In the video.
yes, yes. So, and then I just look at her like,
He loves
he's
me
like,
and he
you don't
wanted me
get
there.
over.
He
She's in
loves me.
Kansas. There's a red hot cap. I just died.
What?
Don't you remember in the video, Dean said that like you should get on a cat, like get on a cab and get over here. And then I look at
Right.
her, like she's in Kansas, like she
He
lives
is.
in Kansas. It's a very long cab ride. I just
That'd be
died.
one expensive cab ride to go all the way up there. But the fact that he's like, "You should be here. Like, why aren't you here?" I'm like,
I totally
and in
like.
my head, I'm thinking, one, I'm too broke for this shit. Two, holy fuck.
How do you think I felt when Dean rounded the corner, saw my face after having a couple of drinks? I ain't gonna lie, I had a couple of drinks, which may have resulted in some of this because I get a little goofy when I drink. Okay, I get a little
But
goofy.
the best part of the whole thing is I actually DM'd him like after that video. Like, and yeah, and then I told him thank you, and he just sent back a thumbs up on TikTok because like I don't follow him on Instagram or anything, and I couldn't DM him on Instagram, so I was like, you know what, I'll just do it on TikTok because why not? He sent back a
No,
thumbs up,
because
and then I just proceeded to cry.
no, how do you think I felt when he rounded the corner, saw my face? He's like it's so good to see you, and they gave me a hug. I'm like, because they're totally not hyperventilating.
I bet he gives really good hugs,
He does.
and I bet Calhoun gave
I've had two drinks because I
yeah.
nearly made a damn fool of myself. Anyways, let's carry on. So Nate and Tara go up to Maggie and Lindy. They kind of are starting to talk. It gets awkward. So, but Elliot goes into the auction, which warns Nate that like they got some local muscle. Thankfully, the conversation doesn't last long as Nate takes a couple shots and Tara rubs, because Maggie goes with Lindy and they leave because he got a phone call. And Tara then looks at Nate because Nate looks at Tara expecting her to like yell at him for drinking. Tara's like, no, like, I'm not Sophie. You can drink if you want to. Like, I'd be drinking too if I were you. And she just like rubs salt in the wound by saying like all the ways Bundy's better than Nate. But she ends it off with, pretty sure he's younger too. And that's what causes Nate to glare at her. But anyways, Elliot well, the first kind of problem arises when Ellie announces they're going to inspect the they're going to bring out the merchandise, and it turns out they're just bringing out a lot. So they don't have the actual egg in that room. So Hardison's like, okay, like get them to prove that it is an old recording. I'm going to see like the traffic coming out of the embassy. So Elliot kind of raises his hand and is like, hey, like, how do you know this is an old recording? Like, I can't be the only one that, like, so the dude says it to his mic, like, reposition the egg. And there's like a dude, there's like a hand that comes into frame that like turns the egg, which I'm not gonna lie. I totally thought there was gonna be some like tattoo on the wrist, and that was going to be relevant. And that was like part of the reason Elliot chose like that specifically, because then Hardison says, okay, best case scenario, that rune's within 100 miles. Like, I'm going to need a little more time. And then it's like, I'm sorry, can you show me like he says like a series of numbers. And then the way like the wrist is positioned, like the sleeve goes up. And that was when I was going to suspect that there was like a tattoo on the wrist that Elliot was going to use later to identify something. There was no tattoo. But when I first saw that episode, that's what I thought like was the point. Like that's why I thought he did that specifically, was to see if there was like any wrist or hand tattoos. But there wasn't. And so Hardison, after that, Elliot tells Hardison, okay, like you're out of time. I was like, look, there's nothing coming out of the embassy that's big enough to be that webcam feed. So it's got to be. So I'm gonna use the IP address, and he's gonna trace to see what room the egg is in. Cause in the Cold War, all these embassies had like special, like a catacomb of like rooms and passages. So Harson's identifying which room it's in, and of course, Maggie and Tara are getting along really well. You know, they're laughing, and Nate comes over. It's like a sorry and interrupt, and then like to ask Tara for a moment, and Tara like kisses his cheek, and then she walks away. And I think it honestly kind of pisses Nate off a bit that Tara's getting along so well with Maggie. I can't explain why I think this. I just think it. It's funny. It's like they're talking, and then Maggie's like, "Oh, I should go find Alexander." And it's like, "No, yeah, like I'll go with you. You know, I need to talk to him too." And of course, you know, during their conversation, Maggie asks about Sophie, and it's like, that got complicated. Maggie's like, "Yeah, because you're a simple man." But just like, yeah, Maggie, you were married to the man and had a child with him. Like, what? Why is that news to you? Which, to be fair, she did say it as like, yeah, like I bet no, you're not a simple man, Nate. You ain't fooling anyone. Like, we had a child yet. Like, so next problem arises when when Elliot announces that the feed has been cut off, so he's got to warn Parker. So warns Parker that whoever was in the room is coming out. So Parker hides around the corner. Dude comes out and then just stands there, and Parker's like, oh. And so Parker's stuck because everyone else is out of position. Elliot turns in the bid. Nate and Nate can't get through, and Tara's out of position because she's still at the party. So guess who is the only one left who saves the day? And more like saves Parker. And that is Sterling. Who then rounds the corner, plays drunk. And I think there was a bit where it looks like he's about to piss on the wall. You know, like he like leans against the wall. You know the lean I'm talking about. But like he doesn't actually. He just like played drunk and like goes like holds him up against the wall, then like he holds on to the guard, and the guard like takes him away, which allows Parker, and he distracts the guard long enough so Parker could get in. She gets the egg, gets out. No one thanks Sterling. And of course, Sterling's talking. Harrison jams his feed, so he gets static. It happens again, and Sterling's trying to catch on. And it's like, you're doing this on purpose. And then Harrison keeps doing it. It's like, stop talking. However, no one can find Nate. So, no one can find Nate. And Nate's in like a wing uh, with Maggie, and he's trying to tell them like where he's at. And then it's funny as Maggie looks at him, it's like, you don't even know you do it, do you? And it's like, what? And she's like, that's your intercom voice. And then she pulls out his earbud. It's like, Nate, you're lying to me. And then Nate's like, look, I hate to be able to tell you this, but like, this is about Alexander. And Maggie's like, do not bring Alexander into this. And it's like, well, he already is. And then Maggie yells, Nate. And they both get tased. And obviously the com's dead. So now, so we see Nate, and Nate wakes up in a storage room. Maggie's already awake. Nate is on, like, his head is on Maggie's lap. And she is laying up against a shelf, and Nate stands up trying to figure out what's going on. They're trying to figure out where they're at and any way to escape. And I want to point out the detail. So the fact that Nate woke up with his head in Maggie's lap means that either that she probably woke up before Nate did, which means either she was awake the whole time or she also got tased. Not quite sure. But either way, she woke up before Nate, made the conscious effort to drag him to the shelf, place his head in her lap, which I think she did do that. I think one, so that Nate wasn't so Nate wasn't like totally freaked out when he like regained consciousness. And two, I think she also did it because she does still care about Nate. Even if she doesn't love him anymore, she does still care about him. But I didn't even like really think about that detail before until I rewatched this episode, where or like I rewatched it just now to do the notes, and I realized like his head's in her lap. Like, I mean, obviously the goons wouldn't have like done that. They would just would have shoved them both in the room and then been done with it. They're not gonna position Nate on Maggie's lap. So the only way to explain that would be Maggie made the conscious decision to drag Nate to that spot and put his head in her lap. And yeah, yes. And so I just like that, like, touch of detail, because it adds a bit to the dynamic between those two. Like, even though they're exes. And the one thing I appreciate about Leverage is that they never villainize Maggie for the sake of like the main relationship. Because so often in media, the ex-wife gets villainized for the sake of the main ship. And I think Leverage is one of the few shows I've seen that doesn't villainize the ex-wife. So yeah. No. Sorry, carry on. So back at the office, the team back at the office, the team is gathered around the table and they're getting worried because they can't get a hold of Nate. And of course, Sterling's like, case is closed. Like, we got the Ed back. I'm sure Nate's breaking it to poor Maggie about her continued poor choice in men. And then they get a phone call from Nate's phone. They answer it, and there's a distorted voice saying they have their friends, don't contact the police, and await further instructions. So Sterling immediately pulls out his phone, wanting to call the police, which Elliot snatches from him. And I like that Elliot's the one that takes the point on this, because it's like, no, like, we're not calling the cops. 2 hostages means they could kill one to make a point. And is like, we're gonna get, like, next we're gonna get 1 of 3 calls. There's an amateur, which is cash in the dump site. 2, the professional with like multiple drop off locations and wire transfers. 3, targeted for specific ransom demand, which is likely the Fabergé egg. And of course, Sterling's like, you're not risking a $9 million artifact. Now it's like, this is our one chance. And then Sterling yells, on a hunch. Which every time Mark Shepard yells, I just hear Crowley's voice. I'm sorry.
Same. I can't help it. It's hilarious.
I know, it's like Crowley was always yelling. Like, they burnt down my house. They ate my Taylor.
Or my favorite, you don't know what it's like to be human.
And me and Mouse and Medina just look at each other like, motherfucker. And then Sterling in the season 2 finale. Does anyone tell me where the hell the Marins? Anyways, so I like that scene in particular because it shows just how scary Elliot is. Because we know Elliot, well, we could imagine at least, that Elliot was the one making the phone calls like that. And we see that he really can be a leader when he chooses to be. And I'll get more into that in a minute. But so basically, Elliot tells Sterling to basically fuck off. And he's the retrieval specialist, so he's taking point. And then Sterling looks at everyone and it's like, you're gonna take your cues, like your friend's lives hang in the balance, and you're gonna take your cues off a punch up artist instead of me. And of course they're all standing there like, yeah, and what the fuck you gonna do about it? And then Sterling takes the egg and it's like, call me when you need me, because you will need me.
That's not what I'm laughing at. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at something I just watched on TikTok, and I sent you the video.
I'll watch it. I'll watch it later. Or do you want me to watch it?
God.
Well, see it. Shoot. What? So we don't need to be talking about that. Moving on. Show.
I'm not sorry.
Back at the storage room, Nate and Maggie are like looking around the room for things to use. Cause it's like getting Maggie out is a priority. And Maggie's like, back at the party, you were trying to tell me something about Alexander. You're about to tell me something. And then Sam comes in. He's, bound and is like, oh, like Alexander, like he's gone crazy. And then Nate just looks at Maggie like, that's what I was about, like, told you. And so back at the hotel, or I can't tell if it's the hotel or the IYS office. I think it's the IYS office. But Tara and Parker walk in. Tara reports that Lundy is in his home or the embassy, and Parker reports the embassy car has been signed out. So they assume he's spooked, he's on the run, and that he's angry that they took their pay. They took his payday. So then they get a phone call, and it's like, shushes everyone. And I find it interesting how Elliot acts during these phone calls because, he tells everyone to be quiet. He hits the button on like the speakerphone and says, go. And Hardison, he's immediately on his computer trying to like probably trace the call. And what he does is he removes the distorter from the call. And the voice on the phone says that if they follow instructions, Nate and Maggie will return to them unharmed. Elliot says, like, we accept. What do you want? And then Hardison is able to remove the filter, revealing that it's Lundy on the phone. And he's like, bring me, and he wants the egg. And it's like, I want proof of life. So of course, in the storage room, Maggie and Nate are talking about their dating habits. And also like Nate's explaining everything that his team found. And Sam explains everything that Nate said about Lundy is true and that he is bankrupt. And Nate points out that his team found the immigration papers, and Maggie calls him out for lying. The team got involved, and now the team is watching this all on a video cam feed. Well, then what's funny is Maggie walks up to Nate, and Nate's trying to say like, no, like it was for your good. And Maggie's like little hint for your next marriage. That excuse is not flying with any woman on earth ever. What's funny is Sam's looking at him like, are you really having this argument now? And then Maggie and Nate just look at each other. They'll look at Sam and it's like, she started it. But then Nate just snatches a can of spray, a can of bug spray from her. And honestly, if Nate and Maggie weren't in danger, that would be a lot funnier. But so the team getting the team get an address. It's a complex that's under construction. So now they got to go call Sterling to use the egg. But Elliot assures them they have the advantage. We'll be at the storage room. Maggie and Nate attempt to escape with the door with a modified taser and a matching bug spray. And what's funny is, so Nate, he picks up a gun from a guard. He holds it like you would normally expect, right? And then what does Maggie doing? She picks up the gun. What's like, Maggie? What the fuck are you doing? Like, give the gun to Nate. He clearly knows how to use
Yeah,
it.
it's like, Maggie, baby, put the gun down. You don't know what you're doing.
She holds it. Hold on, I took a picture of it.
Yeah, she's like
But
this, like kind of has
go
it
ahead.
like down. Ugh. And muzzle safety, come on, girl. It pissed me off.
She's not. She's just. This is how she's holding it. You see her hands.
Yeah, it's like not even like properly on the side of the
Her
gun.
fingers aren't on the trigger, which is
Yeah.
probably why she's holding it like that. Because she
Instead
doesn't
of
have
like this,
the trigger.
towards like that on the trigger guard, and then you have your
That's
finger
kinda like,
on or
she
next to
tries
the
to
trigger.
shoot it like that, it's gonna come up and whack her in the face.
Yeah, and
Especially
not
since
to
she doesn't
mention,
have a grip on it. She just
yeah,
has like.
and not to fucking mention, she doesn't know about muzzle safety.
Yeah, no.
Sorry, as someone who has spent time around guns her entire life and knows how to shoot.
Yeah,
That pisses me
Midwest.
off. Maggie, baby, put the gun down.
Yeah, this
Put it
was it.
down.
Maggie, put the damn gun down.
Put the pew pew away. Put it down.
But then in a twist, Lundy holds up his hands, revealing they are handcuffed. And Sam pulls out a gun, points it at Nate out of the handcuffs. So it turns out it was Sam was the mastermind, and he's setting Lundy up. Of course, no, Nate knows exactly what Sam's doing. Yeah, no, Sam's trying to fake his death, but leave essentially Lundy as the fall guy. And they go to the complex and they put Nate, Maggie, and Lundy in an elevator. And of course, they're handcuffed to the railing. Elliot's got the egg on the 20th floor, and Sam calls Elliot, telling him to place the egg in the elevator, send it down while they send his friends up. And of course, or no, he sends his people down while they send the egg up. Of course, Elliot's like, I want proof of life. And Sam's like, so do I. I want a picture of the egg. So Elliot takes a picture of the egg. Sam sends a picture of Nate and Maggie to Elliot. But then Sam puts a bomb in the elevator Nate and Maggie are on. And then he sends the elevator up. So Nate and Maggie are trying to reach for the bomb so they could defuse it. And Lundy's just crying in the corner. Probably the only thing that would have made that scene funnier is if it showed a wet spot in his pants because he pissed his pants. Which he basically did, all but that. That's the one thing Lundy did not do was piss his pants. Which, in all fairness, if I was around a bomb, I too would have probably pissed my pants. Anyways. So, Elliot, he waits for the elevator, and Maggie decides to kiss Nate. So they're making out. But then we see the elevator open up in front of Sam. It's the bomb, which goes off and they run. And then Elliot was funny. He turns to the camera, does this slow smirk because he knows the plan worked. And I just love that smirk. Yeah, so we see a flashback to Parker dropping down the elevator shaft. The elevator stopped. they go into the one. She goes into one Nate Maggie's in. Of course, they're just standing there awkwardly because Parker just caught them making out, which is kind of like I do kind of feel bad for Lundy because, like, if you think about it from Lundy's perspective, like he got kidnapped, forced to make a ransom phone call, got in an elevator with the bomb, and then saw his girlfriend making out with her ex-husband. Like, you kind of going through it. I ain't gonna lie, I kind of feel bad for Lundy. It's like, yes, he's alive, but now you got to live with the knowledge of the fact that you were in an elevator with the bomb in it, and your girlfriend was making out with her ex-wife, her ex-husband. It's like, what? Anyways, so yeah, so Parker takes the bomb out of Nate and Maggie's elevator, puts it in the one going to Sam, takes the case out of that one, puts it in the other elevator, and then rides it. And so Lundy is throwing up in a trash can. And what's funny is Parker's like rubbing his back, like, it's okay. First bomb's always the hardest. Like, Parker, that does not help. And of course, Nate goes up to Maggie and is like, it's okay. Like, you don't have to be embarrassed. And Maggie's like, I do not want to talk about that. And then Hardison, and then Nate, of course, Nate asks Hardison, like, how did you get the numbers to move, like, while stopping the elevators? So Hardison reveals he sped up the elevators for like a certain amount of time and then stopped him, and then he brought him back up to a normal time, or brought back down to a normal time, which gave Parker 15 seconds to switch out the bomb with the case. And also, Tara walks in, revealing she switched out of course, Sam and his goons went into the embassy car that was parked outside. Except Tara swapped the plates because Sam gets pulled over. And of course, he's pulling that, this is an embassy vehicle. You can't pull us over or give us a ticket. And of course, the cop's like, it doesn't have embassy plates. And of course, the plates Tara put on the car were stolen. So Lundy gets handcuffed. Or Sam gets handcuffed. Sorry, not Lundy. Sam gets handcuffed. And of course, then Nate asks, like, how did you figure it out? And Elliot says it was the webcam feed because the first time they were he saw the video in that room. There was no audio. However, the second time they showed video footage from that room, there was audio, which Elliot must have figured out that it was because Sam wanted to like sell this story and to like keep Lundy as the fall guy. And Maggie says, people underestimate you, Elliot. And then Nate turns to her and is like, that's the point. And I also want to talk about that line because we see throughout this entire show that people underestimate Elliot. But because this is the episode, we see like how capable he is as a leader. And I think in a way Elliot kind of nerfs himself because he can use that to like catch bad guys off guard and help sell the power dynamic between him and Nate to like help Nate's characters out when he's scripting. And I think he also I think does it to help him survive because if he's underestimated by his opponent, he knows he can better predict like how his opponents are going to react, and then he can modify whatever to suit the situation if he can control the situation. And that's I love that because Elliot could very easily be like the dumb hitter, but we see he's actually like a really smart person who like is a very capable individual and is a leader. He just chooses not to be because he doesn't want to be. See, I like that. So Lundy opens the case that the egg was in, and there's no egg. And that is because in order for to have Sterling load them the egg, uh, they had to make some changes to the plan. And then we see a flashback to after Elliot takes the picture of the egg, he tosses the egg to Sterling, who catches it, and then we see that Sterling's basically was hiding in the trunk of the car, which, if you remember from the 2 horse job, Parker asked, like, did Sterling really hide out in a Mark's car for 3 days? And Sophie says, it was 5. I wondered if that little scene was a callback to that line. But moving on a bit. Anyway, Sterling reveals the egg and he takes credit for the whole thing. And we see them watching. Then we see like everyone watching at the bar. It's like a news thing. And reveal that Sterling has been invited to Interpol. And they're all pissed off, including Tara. And then Elliot taps her bottle and it's like, well, now you're a part of the team. And then he leaves. And then Maggie and Nate are sitting at a table. They're having a heart to heart. Nate, is asking Maggie to stay. She's like, no, I'm going back to LA. And Nate's like, without Alexander. And I say, yeah, so like she's implied that like they broke up. And then, they're kind of talking a bit, and then Nate apologizes for lying to her. And she says, so am I. And then Nate says, I don't want to do this. And then Maggie's like, no, that is a lie. And Nate's like, like he's like, no, like things have been really hard lately. And Maggie shares to ask him, and it's like, is there Irish whiskey in that coffee cup? And it's like, yeah, like a little bit, which is probably a lot of it. But Maggie's like, it's not the liquor that worries me, Nate. It's the fact that you're hiding it in your coffee cup. And I meant what I said earlier. I like the man you've become. It's too bad you don't. Which, if you remember, the last time we saw Maggie was the season 2 finale, where Nate and Maggie are sitting on that bench in the gallery, right before, they revealed, the painting where they put the paintings that they had stolen. And she tells Nate, you know, no, you're not the man I married, but I like this version a little bit more. Like, I don't love him, but I like this version a bit more. And so that's what that line was a callback to. It's like, I like the man you've become. It's too bad you don't. And then she kisses him on the cheek, and then she leaves. And you can kind of see Nate's eyes following Maggie. And that's actually kind of the end of the episode. So, my final notes. Overall, I do feel like this is a good episode, except for Maggie. And so I'll mention this again. I do love her dialogue in this episode, but like the thing that gets me is Maggie kissing Nate.
Yep.
To me, that feels a bit out of character for her because we've established that yes, Maggie does care about Nate, but she doesn't have any more romantic feelings for Nate, like anymore, but like she still cares about him. So to me, it seems a bit out of character for Maggie to just kiss Nate.
Yeah.
And that's like the main thing. Like, to me, like Maggie put in Nate and put Nate's head in her lap so that like when he wakes up he's not so freaked out, and
I think it's just
that makes sense for Maggie.
yeah, I think it's second nature because she still deep down like still loves him and cares for him.
It's just
I
that
think it was from a place of like I care about him. I don't want him to like panic and feel like he's alone.
like I don't want to be freaked out, and I don't want him to just be laying on this hard ass floor.
Yep, I want to. It basically it was her. I still want to be there for him. And
Yeah, because she does care about Nate, and I think there maybe is a part of her that like I don't want to say like I think she still loves Nate, but she loves the old Nate. Like I think she still loves the old Nate that was before they lost Sam.
Yep.
And I think when she sees Nate, I think she looks for a little bit of that man. But I think after, but I think like as like this episode goes on, she realizes like, yeah, that man is like truly gone now. And I'm thinking it confirmed it for her when Nate straight up lied, saying he doesn't want to do this. Like he doesn't want to be like buying and stealing because the truth is Nate he does like doing this. He's very good at it. And that's I think what he hates about himself is that he likes it and he's good at it. And now that I'm thinking about it more, if you think about the last episode with the bottle job, they bring up Nate being Nate's father being like a bookie and running numbers and not being like a criminal himself. And now Nate, he's not liking the man he's seen in the mirror because he's seeing the man he hates in the mirror, and that's his father.
Yeah. It was really which really sucks.
It does, and honestly, that is something I related to for a long time. Because I kind of brought this up in the last episode, but like my father's a narcissist and had anger issues. So every time I would get angry over something, I would get terrified that I'd like lash out like my dad. Until like I started realizing like, okay, anger is not necessarily a bad thing if you know how to process it. And that was starting to be my problem until I got into therapy, was I didn't know how to process anger. So that I think comes into play with this episode, because Maggie sees right through that, because of course, when we first see Maggie and Nate sit down, Maggie says, oh, like, of course it was this place, which means she knows about, like, I don't necessarily know if Maggie has ever met Jimmy, but at least at a bare minimum, or at a minimum, Maggie knows of Jimmy. And I'm sure Maggie and Nate have had conversations about Nate's father. And I think given the last episode and what we know about Jimmy and how like Nate's relationship with his father, I have a feeling that that Nate's struggling so bad is because every time he looks in the mirror, he sees his father, which is the man he hates. So yeah, that I just kind of find interesting. True. So yeah. I also like how this episode, it shows how much the team has grown in terms of trusting each other. Because like when Elliot took charge, like nobody questioned him. Everyone was on the same page. They even like backed Elliot up against Sterling. And also they didn't hesitate to like finish the job, just like Nate would have done. Because like that was the plan, was to like get Alexander, like to get the egg back in Claire Maggie's name. Well, they did just that. All while saving Nate and Maggie. So I imagine I imagine deep inside though, Nate was proud. And I think this is also the episode where Nate kind of gets the reality check from Maggie about how he's been acting. Because like Nate brushes off like all this lying, and Maggie's like, "No, like you lied, Nate. Like that is not cool. You lied to me. Like you lied about like the team getting involved, and like while I'm thankful, like you got me out of prison, I don't appreciate that you lied about it and that you're using thieves to do it."
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, and I think Nate needs that, but I also think this is what's going to lead to the 2-part finale, is Nate's gone too far, getting too far down the spiral he's on. Because, like, the important women in his life, Sophie, so far we haven't seen her talk to Nate yet. We imagine she's cut off contact from Nate because he got pissy with her about leaving. And now Maggie's called him out by, like, saying the thing that he doesn't want to say, which is that he hates who he's become. And he doesn't like the man he's become. And I think that's what's going to lead to this next, like, downward spiral we see. And I also find this concept of the team thinks Nate's drinking is a symptom, not the problem, because it's a symptom of something bigger going on, which also shows that, like, he's not doing well because he's missing Sophie. So yeah, he's out of control, but the team doesn't dare call him out or try to, like, rein him in because he's good. Like, he's doing good. He's, like, working on, like, he's doing good plans. He's, like, doing all this. Like, he's, like, at least functioning better. So they're letting it slide when Sophie would have been calling his ass out. Which also begs the question, what do you think? So the bottle drop was when Nate relapsed. If Sophie was in that episode over Tara, do we think Nate would have relapsed? Because I don't think he would have. If you switch out Sophie with Tara, do you think Nate would have relapsed?
Yeah.
Do you explain?
Well,
I'm just generally curious. Why do you think Nate would have still relapsed?
there's that temptation. He's gonna be tempted whether he wants to or not, but it would have happened with either one of them. He's gonna want to reach for what makes him feel comfortable, which is alcohol. With either one would have stopped him. The other one just kind of didn't know what to do.
Well, Tara really couldn't stop Nate.
Yeah.
Because she wasn't physically there. Remember, Tara was, like, in the apartment going through the book. But it does kind of make you wonder, though, like, if Sophie was still around, would Nate still, I guess, be on this spiral? Like, this episode, if it was Sophie instead of Tara, how would that episode look? It's, like, interesting, I guess, kind of questions. Because I think in this episode, Sophie So I don't know what Sophie would have done if she was replacing Tara. Like, if you switch out Sophie and Tara for this episode, would that, like, because I don't think Sophie could. See, I don't think this episode would have worked had it been Sophie. And I explain that, and I say that because it's Tara's script how they get the envelope. And the point is, Tara said nothing. I don't know if Sophie can do that, where she just pulls off a grift while saying nothing.
True.
Because, and I don't mean that to shit on Sophie's scripting skills. We know she's a very capable grifter, but she likes crafting the character based on the person.
Yeah. But with this one, that wasn't really readily available.
That wasn't really possible.
And it wouldn't have probably, I don't think the outcome would have been what it was had she been there. That's the one thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, those are actually kind of all the notes that I got.
Me too.
You got anything you want to add?
But yeah, I like how with this, it was kind of not really a turning point, but it kind of showed how Sterling rubs the team the wrong way. How like anyone new at this moment coming in, like Maggie and everything, kind of throws everybody off their kilter a little bit.
Yeah, like when things get personal, they're not good at
they're not good at adjustment, and that it shows.
Yeah, they're not really good at the compartmentalizing when it comes to someone they care about.
Yeah, but I mean, in the later episodes, they get better at it.
They do. I mean,
they learn how to handle it a little bit better.
Yeah, because they're better at identifying it.
Because they're like, oh, okay, so this is just part of what we have to deal with. All right, let's just move on. Exactly.
And the Walk in the Woods job, Elliot's the one
who's like caught off kilter,
invested. But the team immediately is like, look, like we know this is personal for you.
So let us help.
Do this to you. We do not have to do this yourself.
Exactly.
Like, let us help you so we can do this right.
But yeah, at first it was like oh shit, what do we do?
Yeah.
Which I love. I love any time where the team's like, what do we do? How do we help? I don't know what to do. It's like that moment of
it's like, oh shit, feelings are involved. What? I don't know what to do. Sophie!
It's like
Sophie's not here.
It's like that audio of like, I don't know what to do. I need an adult. Like, and then it's like, wait, I need an adult to hear adult.
Which in that case is Sophie.
Exactly. Or the way that I see it, as someone who's autistic, a feelings translator. That's what they need.
Sophie.
Exactly.
That's Sophie, though, yeah. So, yeah. So then,
yeah, I love this episode. It was fun.
I do too. It was just that like one little detail,
and I love how like
that rubs
off kilter everybody they got. I love how off kilter everyone got.
Until though Elliot took charge.
Exactly. Well, he didn't really take charge per se. It was just like a, here, let me redirect what we're supposed to be doing here. I know what we're supposed to be doing. He kind of took a military stance to it, is what I can
also,
see.
He's like, okay, like this is what's gonna happen. This is what's gonna happen. This is what we're gonna need to do. This is how we handle this.
Exactly. And I loved it. I loved how
Elliot, he is capable of being a leader, and like we see, or it's implied he's like led teams before as a commander. But Elliot will do it, and he can do it. It's just he doesn't want to. Part of it maybe because he doesn't like it, but I think part of it is also because I think he finds it a bit limiting to lead. All right, so I think that's all I really have to say about this episode. Is there anything else you want to add before I wrap this up?
Nope.
All right, so to wrap up this episode, I want to thank our sponsor, Prairie Pines. You can listen to Prairie Pines in Bigfoot Country 102.1 WIFT at lovemybigfoot.com or the Love My Bigfoot app from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on the weekdays. You can support our parent company, NAFCO.org. If you want to support the podcast, you can buy us a coffee on Ko-Fi at Films and Fandoms. Because we really could use the support. It's expensive running this podcast. So it'll be really appreciated. And yeah. We also have a Discord. That's our invite code. You can find us on Instagram at FN Fandoms with Kaylee and Alex. Our Twitter, FN Fandoms. We're also on Facebook at Films and Fandoms. You could go on my website, Kaylee Santel Acting. And you could follow me on Twitter at MissMovieFan_67 and on TikTok at MovieFan_67. You could also follow Alex on Instagram at Alex_the on Twitter at Alex the Alley Cat, and on TikTok, Alex the Alley Cat. And you can go support our friends over at Mall Filmworks and go send a happy birthday to Michael Gaffner, as it's his birthday today. So happy birthday, Michael. But yeah, so the next episode of Leverage, now we may have to delay this. So next week, we are going to be talking season 2, episode 13, which is The Future Job. And so we officially have 3 episodes until we are done with season 2. Which should mean that by the time November ends, we will be done with season 2 of Leverage. So hopefully, beginning of December, we'll be continuing with season 3. And then in January, we should be finishing up season 3. And then in February, should be starting season 4. By March, we should be ending season 4.
Yep.
And then April, we'll do season 5. And should be by the end of May, maybe beginning of June, we will officially be done with Leverage.
I did a thing on Twitter, so don't be mad at me.
Shenanigans. Oh God!
I had to. All right.
Anyways, so
This was fun. I mean,
it is. So that is all I have to say.
but yeah, this was a fun one.
It is
I
a
really
fun.
like as we get later and later into the Leverage franchise, the more fun the episodes become because we get to see the dynamic, like morph and change in different ways. And this one was prime example of this because like they were flipped on their heads a little bit with this episode of like,
because
how do we adjust?
Yeah, because
how do we adjust to this? What's going on?
Yeah, because Nate's not the leader, so like the team has to kind of figure it out on their own.
Exactly.
So again, next Tuesday we're going to be talking The Future Job, which should be a fun one because not only is it going to be Parker. You get the most emotion out of Parker I think we've got yet. And Elliot wanting to commit murder for Parker. So, yeah. Anything else you want to add before I end?
No.
Thank you guys for tuning in. And we'll see you guys in the next episode.